Okay. Welcome to today's episode, where we'll be exploring the fascinating world of intelligence. We're going to delve into the difference between IQ and EQ. We're going to discuss why balancing both is crucial and share insights on how to improve each. Plus, we'll hear a personal story about how balancing IQ and EQ has been transformative. So let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to get started by defining what is IQ and what is EQ. All right, so Heather, what is IQ?
The IQ is intelligent. The I is intelligence. The Q is quotient. Holy, this is going to be a fun one. Um, and it measures our cognitive abilities, such as reasoning, logical thinking. It's typically standard, like in standardized testing,
Mhm.
studying, things of that nature. And then EQ is emotional quotient, right? So that's all your emotional functions, the ability to recognize, understand, manage, um, how you uh, how you comprehend things
Mhm.
emotionally, right? So that's what they both are. In this podcast, we'll just be calling them EQ and IQ, just so it's
Okay.
easier.
All right. So now that we've got an idea of what the difference is between our IQ and our EQ, um, I want to ask, like, why is it important to keep these balanced? Because I know from my perspective anyway, most of us, like, when we go to school, we're taught how to develop our IQ and our
Yes.
EQ. A lot of us are left kind of to figure out on our own, and we have to pick that up from our surroundings, like our parents, our families,
Hmm.
our mentors, like teachers, things like that. But it's not something we really focus on, like teaching and
Right.
and passing on. So, you
And
know,
honestly, like when we look at it now, like it really is the buzzword of emotional intelligence, right?
right.
Um,
Yes, I hear a lot of it.
right.
A lot about it
Emotional
lately.
intelligence, and the whole thing is to keep them balanced is huge because um, you want to you want to develop things in an academian way, right? You want to develop things, reading and figuring out mathematics and things like that. So you want to be strong in that intelligent piece, right? To be able to do daily functions of measuring
Right.
measuring things and math and making change and all those things. But then your emotional, piece of that is you want to also be able to absorb information without being emotionally charged, without reacting, without becoming introverted if
Mhm.
something frightens you or things like that. So it's kind of like a fine dance between the two, right? To
Absolutely.
be able to be like all encompassing, and so it helps you with teamwork and being able to um, function on a relationships level.
So it's basically your interpersonal skills. So it's like
Yes,
it's one thing to know how to carry something out and what you need to do to get the job done. Then at the same time, in order to get that job done, you have to be able to handle the other people that you're, working
yes,
with and know how to speak to them on a level that, they're going to understand and everyone's going to feel like supported and like a part of the team. So in that way, I feel like it's really important to be able to it's one thing to know what you want to get out there, and then but emotionally you need to know how to present it to the
right.
people that you're trying to bring it across to.
And to add another layer to that, know that like when you are communicating, everybody learns differently,
Absolutely.
right? And so you really have to shift that. That's part of that EQ, shifting how you communicate with one person and the other person, even though you're giving the same information.
So it's like really learning how to read the room. So
Yes.
when you have, like, when we're out here, we're speaking about this. We have the information on it, and then how we choose to present the information is really like
Right.
kind of like us reading the room, like knowing our audience and kind of coming up with a way that is making this easily understandable and digestible and accepted by our
Yes.
audience. To
Yeah.
kind of
And
put
not
it in our terms.
not always accepted, but like you said, digestible.
Yeah.
Something that can people can work on their own processing of the
You
information.
want people to be able to relate to it, like, on
Absolutely.
more than one level, like,
Yeah.
emotionally, you want to develop a connection
Right.
in more than one way,
And
so
we all use both of these things on a daily basis, whether we think we do or we don't, and whether we call it, emotional intelligence or, you know, whatever you want to call it, right?
mhm,
It's really your knowledge of everyday things plus your people skills, right?
absolutely, yes,
Your
just being able
relationship
to
skills.
connect to yeah, being able to connect to other people on, more than one level.
Right.
Alright, so that's why it's important to keep these things balanced, and then, so some of the ways that we can improve our IQ.
Oh, well, improving your IQ is, reading and doing things that stimulate the mind, right?
Absolutely.
Puzzles, learning, new skills, learning a new language, learning new forms of math. If you're interested in math, you can learn calculus and algebra and all these things. Extensive reading. I can't say enough about reading. And I'm a big proponent of reading a book, like
Mhm.
actually holding and reading a book, having that sense of pages and things like that. Because I feel like it stimulates the mind. The other great thing is problem solving, like doing
Yeah,
puzzles
that's
and
huge.
crosswords and word searches and word finds and all those little computer games that pop up on your phone that tell you, save the king or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you have to do. Like you have to like figure it out, like have to like really do some thought process. Kids that play video games that have to read,
Yeah.
to get from point A to point B. Um, those are great for that as well. Okay, and it
Alright.
helps you problem solve.
So now I know too, I said this before, we often are taught more on how to work on our IQ
Mhm.
and the importance of our IQ. So now if we want to enhance our EQ, what are some of the things that we can do to work on our emotional skills?
Well, we talk about this in just about every episode. It's awareness, it's mindfulness, it's being present in the moment, um, meditation, physical activity helps you with your emotional intelligence, movement. And so, embracing emotions, uh, be actually feeling the emotion and kind of working out what the emotion is. That's a huge way of working on that skill. So you don't like feel an emotion and are like it's a knee jerk reaction to react to it, right?
Mhm.
Um, we just got done an episode with responding or reacting. So
Yeah.
part of your emotional intelligence, part of this whole thing is learning how to respond. So honing up those skills, learning how to respond instead of react, and letting your emotions be a part of you, but not so much a part of you that you can't
Well, where
contain.
they're like overtaking and
Yeah, you
ruling
can't
things.
contain them, right?
I think the important thing too is as things happen, again, being present, notice how you're feeling,
Hmm.
identify like the emotion that you're having, and
Yeah,
allow yourself to have it when it comes
right.
up, so that it's not coming back at you like when you get something that triggers or reminds you of something that happened.
Yes,
So it's like if you deal with it when you're feeling it as it's happening, if
yes,
you can develop the skill of noticing what's going on when it's going on, it becomes a lot easier to deal with the emotions and then to kind of release them so they're not sneaking up on you
yeah,
later on and
yeah,
then you're reacting to something very small that really didn't kind of deserve that reaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And
All right.
and know that everybody, again, everybody deals with both of these things,
Yeah.
and we're all just human. So things are going to happen, things are going to come up, and to actually take those breaths, like we talk about all the time, taking those breaths and
Mhm.
letting your mind actually register what's going on.
And
Um,
again, as we always like to let everyone know, like these are helpful tips in everyday situations.
mhm.
If you're having difficulty dealing with your emotions or you have powerful emotions
Yes,
that you cannot deal with, then you do need to seek out professional help. There is absolutely nothing
absolutely.
wrong with that. It's
Nope.
all a part of your health and well-being, and you should be healthy and well in every aspect of your life. So if there's, something that's going on there that is too much to deal with, get help.
Yes, absolutely. Talk to a trusted friend, um,
Yeah.
family
But
member.
if you yeah, or like I said, if you need professional help,
Yep.
like you should seek that out.
Absolutely.
All right. So IQ and EQ in everyday situations. How are we
Yeah.
using our intellectual intelligence, our cognitive abilities, and our emotional intelligence in our everyday lives?
So IQ is problem solving, right?
Yeah.
Blatantly problem solving, analyzing a situation, critical thinking, coming up with solutions, effective everyday problems, effective everyday solutions, decision making. Uh, you know, red or blue, right? Your whatever color you got in front of you, what one are you going to pick, right? So your decision making, and then learning and adaptability. So when we learn a skill and we adapt to bringing things forward, um, that's all IQ. We
Hmm.
learn a skill, and as we implement that skill, that's all your IQ. EQ is your emotional regulation, right? Regulating those emotions, managing your emotions, staying calm under pressure, and then avoiding that overreaction, right? Avoiding that that react instead of
Well, because
respond.
that's then going to hinder your ability to problem solve. So
Yes.
if you get overly emotional or overly reactive,
Yes.
you're then not going to be able to make that intelligent
Mhm.
decision that you would otherwise be capable of making. So,
Right.
back in that, like, hindsight's 2020. So if you get super emotional, you can't really see like the forest through the trees. Like you're
Right.
so hot, the the
Mm,
answer to whatever it is you're looking for could be right in front of you, but
yes.
without that emotional regulation, you're not able to then utilize the
Right.
intellectual intelligence that you've developed. So,
Absolutely. If you can't stay calm in a situation, um, retrieving information is really hard.
yes,
Um,
absolutely.
Empathy, emotional intelligence is empathy, right? Being
Mhm.
able to empathize with somebody else and understand what other people are going through, so you are not overreacting, so you are in a position to ask questions calmly to understand what's truly going on.
Or
And
to keep
then
someone else from actually having that
yes.
overreaction, like being able to like again, read the room, to know what
Mhm.
someone else is feeling so that you can approach what you're going at in a way that makes them feel safe
Absolutely.
and comfortable and heard.
Yes, yes. And know that this is a skill, right? Not everybody can stay calm in stressful situations, right? And it doesn't mean if you can't stay calm in a stressful situation, you're less than. It
No.
just means it's a skill that maybe you need to try to hone in on or work through
No,
or
I
something.
developed this wonderful skill where I can stay calm and clear-headed while the crazy thing is happening, and then I wait and freak out when everything is fine.
Okay.
So, that was, so now I'm trying to like get past that. But yeah, no, I got to the point where I was like, okay, great, chaos. I thrive in chaos. I can think through this. I can get my way out of this. And then like it's over and I did it, and then I freak. And I'm like,
Uh,
that seems kind of useless. So That's a skill I now need to develop. So I'm like, okay, girl, you've handled this. You made the correct decision. You got through it. Everything is fine. Like, go relax. Do not
Yeah.
freak out. So, but
The last one we have right here is conflict resolution, right? Emotional
hmm
intelligence aids in resolving disputes, and recognizing and addressing emotions that are involved while you're having a dispute: anger, sadness, stress, fear, all those. And then, um, your emotional intelligence helps you gauge all that and work through it. So,
So that's why we're really using both of these as a part of our problem solving skills. Like, you need to honestly have a balance of these
mhm,
two things to more effectively work through problems and
yeah.
situations. So it's very important to, really look into both of these things to be a little bit more effective of just, handling your crap on a daily basis. So let's just, let's be honest. All right. So now we're going to correlate this with our emotional and intellectual intelligence with our self care and our everyday well being. So
Yeah.
how are we going to correlate our IQ and our EQ into our self care?
So you're going to use your IQ, to actually build and create your self care routine, right? You're
Makes sense.
actually, the knowledge that you have about self care, or the knowledge that you're going to seek out about self care, is going to help you build that self care routine. Even to build a routine, you're using IQ, right? To
Of
be
course.
able to structure a routine. And so,
Yeah, you're looking at your timeline, like what
right,
time of day,
right.
what tools you have available,
Yep.
all of those things.
Yep. So, information processing, right? And you're going to research, understand, you're going to develop the skill, right? To take care
hmm
of yourself. You're going to take the skill to cook healthy. You're going to take that skill to work out. You're going to take that skill to do a facial routine or skincare routine or whatever. So, and then when we move on to EQ and self care, emotional awareness, we're recognizing when we need a break. We're recognizing when we need rest and emotional support. We're recognizing when we need to reach out for help, whether it's professional help or talking to a friend. Self compassion. We're going to have self compassion for ourselves. We're going to have compassion for others that we're dealing with. Those are all very good in self care. Practicing kindness and gratitude. And then stress management, right?
Of course.
You're
Yeah.
going to utilize your emotional intelligence for stress management techniques. You're going to meditate, mindfulness, just to help you handle everyday stress.
Okay. All right. So as bettering life and a sense of well-being, how are we using our emotional and our intellectual intelligence to better ourselves?
So, IQ, we're looking at like goal setting, right? We're
hmm
looking at planning ahead and what's the roadmap to get there. We're looking at problem solving. If right now, today, you have a problem that you have to overcome, and it's, weighing on your life heavy, maybe it's finances, maybe it's a job, maybe it's something of that nature, you're going to problem solve and build yourself a platform on how to get to where you need to go. And then you're going to learn, right? You're
hmm
going to seek out either education, or you're going to read some information on maybe how you overcome or go on a job interview or build a resume, or
hmm
whatever your deal is. Emotional, we're going to work on healthy relationships. We're going to build and maintain stronger relationships. We're going to have supportive relationships with healthy boundaries and empathy, and effective communication. We're going to we're going to be super resilient, right? As we
hmm
build emotional intelligence, we get more and more resilient because we don't take things personal. We don't overreact. We don't overthink. We ask good questions. We keep even even tone in our voice when we're asking questions. We show empathy and care, kindness when we're trying to come up with a resolution. And so it builds better relationships, right? And it
Yeah.
helps us build that resilience. So when we are set back, when things do happen, right, we can bounce back to those things and be like,
And
okay,
regulate and deal with that better. And again,
yes,
it's really important, like, to when you are emotionally regulated, it is much easier to think clearly and to
yes,
make those calm, level-headed decisions.
yes,
So it doesn't do any good to be extremely intelligent without the ability to utilize that knowledge and to put it into practice.
right,
And if you become overly emotional, it can often be a block to acting and to putting that intelligence to good use.
yes, yes. And remember, the more you breathe through things, the more oxygen you're giving the body, the easier it is for the brain to think. I mean, it's kind of the simplest way to explain it,
No,
right?
there's that too, but there's also when we get these emotional reactions to things, and sometimes they're the smallest triggers, and we want to be aware of that. You know, our body is going to go into certain modes. Like, you might just automatically react to something and you're going into fight or flight. And being able to recognize that and learning how to deal with it so that it can happen less and less, and then you could use then your intellectual intelligence, because that just cuts off. Like, when fight or flight kicks in,
Yeah,
our reasoning skills go right out the window. So that's another really great reason to then develop
yeah,
our the emotional portion of this, again, so that we're not overly reactionary, and then we can use those intelligence skills that we've,
the
developed.
the other thing to piggyback off of what you're saying is when you are an overreactor, when you're a
Mhm.
person that is emotionally charged, often people start to expect that from you.
Yes.
And the more people are waiting for that, or that is triggered in you towards other people, the less other people are compassionate towards that, right? And
Yeah.
so when we look at building those relationships and stuff like that, it really is a give and take for that emotional intelligence. The other thing, as we move forward, the other thing is positive mindset, right? Fostering a
Absolutely.
positive outlook is huge for emotional intelligence, is huge. Being able to not always be thinking in the back of your mind, oh, when's the other foot going to fall, doom and gloom, and
Yeah.
things like that. Having that positive mindset that, and that's where that empathy comes in, right? When you are dealing with other people, when you're dealing with other situations, and say a person's late and they call you
Mhm.
up and they say, hey, I'm running a little late. Instead of hanging up the phone and being like, man, they're never on time, this, that, and the other thing, you can say, hey, they thought enough about me to call. And
Mhm.
your response to them is like, you know what? I'd rather you be safe and late than not be here at all. Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's really important for us to change even our verbiage into that positive mindset, to really start to adopt that and develop that in ourselves.
All right, so I think we kind of covered, like, our daily interactions
Mm-hmm.
with that,
Yep.
right? Because we're talking about, like, how we're dealing that. So, in the work environment,
Yeah, I think
how
the
are we
work.
putting this to use?
Yes, I think the work. Well, I think the work environment's really the same way. Like
Mhm.
when we talk about, if you're leading something in the work environment, you have to be able to communicate. You need to be able to
Mhm.
give that intelligent piece that you're learning, that educational piece. You need to be able to convey that. And you also need to have that relationship, and to build that relationship with the people that you're teaching, to work through that teamwork, right? And
But even the
so,
other way around, like, even as a part of the team, you
yep.
need to then be able to communicate back, let people know, like, whoever is in charge, what's working and what isn't.
Hmm.
And if you get overly emotional about what is, what isn't working, then it's a lot harder for someone to stop and listen to you and take seriously, like, because you might have great ideas, but if you're so emotionally charged about
Yeah.
it, people aren't going to be able to like listen and to understand you and to take
Right.
in like what you might be saying could be super useful,
Right.
but it's not going to come across that way if you're, if you're emotionally charged.
Right. Absolutely. And it goes back to what we just talked about. If you're emotionally charged, people do not respond well to that, right?
No.
Just as you go into fight, flight, freeze or fawn, so does
Hmm.
somebody else,
Right.
right? So if you're emotionally charged, that other person could just be as emotionally charged as you are, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
then it's a wash, right? At
Right,
that
absolutely,
point,
and then no one's gonna be able to communicate, no
right,
one's gonna be able to absorb any information or, like, understand the conversation or the interaction at all because now there's just too much emotion involved, and there's no message getting through other than,
right,
"Oh my god, this is happening, and I'm just, like, so overly stimulated right
right,
now."
absolutely. And then we go into personal development.
Mhm.
So the thing about all of this too is personal growth is so important. So personal growth is both these things together, right?
Right.
Educating yourself.
Personal
Um,
growth is just our lives.
yeah,
Like, that's it, like.
totally. Yeah, totally. And not everybody looks at what they do as personal growth, but you're constantly trying to grow and develop and learn, whether you're reading articles on the internet or you're reading a book or you're taking classes. Everybody is trying to develop some kind of skill
Mhm.
to get through their day. So, um, personal growth is super important, and it's no different when it comes to the emotion, right? The personal growth of your emotional intelligence is huge. You're sitting with yourself, you're meditating, you're positive self-talk, you're maybe stepping away, going for a walk,
Mhm.
movement, and things like that. And so it's all super important, and we do it every day. We just don't verbalize it possibly in the IQ EQ manner.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we don't even realize what we're doing as
Right.
we're doing it. So it's kind of interesting to bring it up and to take a look at, what we're doing every day and pay
Hmm.
attention to it and realize that
Yeah.
it is happening and that we can stop for a minute and kind of change, we can flip the script a little bit if like we
Yes.
find these patterns that we have developed are not super healthy, if we are getting emotionally charged and keeping ourselves from being able to access and utilize our
Right.
intelligence,
Right.
there's something that we can do about it. And that
Absolutely.
I think is great. So then you're noticing and you're using both those things again to kind of make a change for your own personal development. So
Yes. Which
there
is
you go. Like,
it's yeah, it's super beautiful. And then the other thing is, know that you're doing these skills every day, even though you possibly don't think you are, and stop, listening to us when we talk about self-care throughout our podcast. Stop and think of the actual things that you do for yourself every day and celebrate them. Like, take a brief moment to celebrate what you do for yourself, because it's huge. Even if it's little, it's still huge, right?
yeah,
To
that's,
take,
those are your things like each day
yes,
and
to
you
take the
deserve
moment.
all of them.
I tell my students all the time, you showed up, even if you showed up for an hour of literally laying on your mat and not doing any, if you came for an hour of Shavasana, you are still benefiting yourself because you are actually taking the time to take out of your day and actually help you.
Yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
that's huge. That's what it's all about. So by balancing your IQ and your EQ, you can enhance your overall quality of life, achieve personal and professional success, and maintain a state of well-being that supports fulfilling and resilient lifestyle. I mean, that's that's really what we're all here for, right?
That's what we're trying to do with each of our little tasks, with all of these little things that we learn about ourselves
Yes.
and our lives and, how to make things better. Like that's it. Like that's what we're striving for. We're striving for the best life that we can have and then hopefully helping others to do the same
Yes.
thing for themselves.
Yes.
So, all right. So, I guess that kind of wraps up today's episode
Yes.
on balancing IQ and EQ for success. I hope you found this insight valuable and are inspired to develop your own cognitive and emotional intelligence. Thank you for listening. And until next time, stay balanced and thrive.
Bye.